Good morning students. Welcome back to your chemistry class. Today we shall discuss about our chapter number 9, practical work. Sometimes ICSE also asks questions from this chapter, that is practical work. First one is recognition and identification of gases. Suppose you are given hydrogen gas. How will you identify the given gas? There are some points, and remembering those you can identify the given gas. The gas involved is colorless, odorless, that is it has no color and no smell. Neutral to litmus. Neutral to litmus means it has no effect with the litmus. Pure hydrogen bonds with pale blue flame when burnt splint is brought near it. When it is burnt, it burns with the pale blue flame, and also you have learnt hydrogen burns with the pop sound. So from these points you can guess which gas is given to you, and that is hydrogen. Next we shall discuss about carbon dioxide gas. The gas is also colorless and odorless. It turns moist blue litmus faint red. And what turns blue litmus red? Yes, it is an acid. So this gas is showing acidic nature. And when the gas is passed through lime water, that is CaOH2, it turns milky due to the formation of white precipitates of calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate is having white color, so there is milkiness in this solution. When lime water reacts with carbon dioxide gas, it turns it into carbon carbonate, which is milky, and the milkiness disappears when carbon dioxide is passed in excess. Then it again reacts with the calcium carbonate present there, and then forms calcium bicarbonate, which is soluble. And the gas has no effect on filter paper dipped in acidified potassium dichromate, that is K2Cr2O7, or potassium permanganate, that is KMnO4. Because gas is itself acidic in nature, so it will have no effect with the acidified potassium dichromate or potassium permanganate. There are many gases that are given in your syllabus. Go through the syllabus that is given to you already. You have received the syllabus, so those gases that are given in the syllabus, you have to remember the points by heart, and then you can identify the gas. Next we shall discuss about action of heat on a given unknown substance. On heating, salts undergo characteristic changes. Some give off water of crystallization, while some decompose to give off gas vapors. Some salts change their color on heating, while some others sublimate, that is they directly change from solid to gas. Careful observations of changes and identification of gases evolved to give information that helps to identify the salt. First you have to see which residue they are forming. Residue means what is left behind when a substance is heated or after the reaction, and which gas it evolves. So you have to keep in mind. You have to notice these things. On the basis of these things, you can identify the unknown substance. First see, if light green amorphous powder turns to black, means if you are given with light green amorphous powder, and you put that powder in the test tube and hold the test tube with the help of test tube holder, and then heat it on the Bunsen burner, then what will you identify? You will identify that light green amorphous powder turns to black, and there is also evolution of a gas, and the gas is carbon dioxide. How will you identify the gas is carbon dioxide? We have already learnt the observations of carbon dioxide gas. So here the reaction is copper carbonate when heated turns to copper oxide plus carbon dioxide, and copper oxide, the residue is black in color, and the gas is colorless, odorless, and that extinguish a burning wooden splinter. Because carbon dioxide is neither a combustible substance nor a spotter of combustion, so it extinguishes burning wooden splinter and turns lime water milky, as we have already discussed. And the gas has no effect on acidified potassium bichromate or acidified potassium permanganate, because gas is itself acidic in nature. And from these conclusions we can deduce that the light green powder is copper carbonate. So in this manner you can identify the given substance. There are many substances or salts. I think four salts are there in your syllabus. So you have to go through those and keep in mind the observations, and then you will be able to identify the unknown substance. Next we shall discuss about action of dilute sulfuric acid on a given substance. Like firstly we have discussed action of heat on the given substance. Now action of dilute sulfuric acid on the given substance. Add dilute sulfuric acid to given substance. First put the given substance on in the test tube and then pour some drops of dilute sulfuric acid. And if there are observations such as vigorous effervescence and a colorless odorless gas evolves and the gas burns with a pop sound, that is hydrogen gas is evolved, then you can guess that the substance is an active metal such as zinc, iron or magnesium, because these active metals such as zinc, iron, magnesium, they gives hydrogen gas when they are reacted with dilute sulfuric acid. So from these observations we have already discussed in the hydrogen chapter that active metals displace hydrogen gas, because these active metals are in the reactivity series. So these are more reactive than hydrogen gas, so they can displace hydrogen gas from here, and then hydrogen gas is liberated. It displaces and takes its position. So if the evolved gas is hydrogen, you can say the substance is active metal. Next we shall discuss about flame test. In the flame test, a thin platinum wire is first thoroughly cleaned and dipped in concentrated hydrochloric acid. First we take concentrated hydrochloric acid on a watch glass, and see here concentrated sulfuric acid is taken on the watch glass, and then we put this platinum wire on this concentrated hydrochloric acid, and then it is heated in the non-luminous flame of the burner. Here is the non-luminous flame of the burner. Students, be careful. In your book it is showing the middle part of the flame as non-luminous, but you know the middle part of the flame is luminous and non-luminous part is the outermost part of the flame. The outermost part of the flame is non-luminous part. It is the hottest part of the flame. You have to heat this platinum wire in the non-luminous part of the flame, that is outermost part of the flame, that is completely oxidized and it gives no soot. And you have to, before using platinum wire for flame test, first you have to thoroughly clean it. And what is the process by which we clean the platinum wire? First we put the platinum wire in the concentrated HCl, that is concentrated hydrochloric acid, and then we heat it in the non-luminous part of the flame, and this process is repeated till the platinum wire imparts no color to the flame. When you will heat that platinum wire on the non-luminous part of the flame, you will observe that there are some colors imparted by the flame, and when the wire imparts no color to the flame, then it is ready to use. Then firstly you have to dip that platinum wire firstly in the concentrated hydrochloric acid, and then in the substance or the salt. Here you can see in the watch glass, here is concentrated hydrochloric acid and salt. So firstly dip here the platinum wire once it is ready for use, and then again heat it on the non-luminous part of the flame, that is outermost part of the flame, and see which color it gives or imparts. If the color imparted by the flame is golden yellow, then you can say that the salt is sodium salt. If the color imparted by the flame is lilac flame, lilac is purple color, that is light purple color, and if that is lilac flame, then you can say that the given salt is potassium salt. And if the color of the flame is brick red, then you can guess that the substance is calcium salt. So from these observations you can guess the given salt or detect the presence of the given salt that is given to you for the experiment. So next our topic is some experiments based on soft water and hard water. We have already discussed in detail about soft water and hard water in our chapter number 3, water. If you have any confusions, you can go through those videos again and complete the topic from there. Next we shall discuss about water pollution. Here is the definition of water pollution, that is, water pollution is the introduction of substances, such characters or in such quantity and in such quantity that alter the natural quality of water and impair its usefulness. It means that there are some unwanted substances that are added in water, and those unwanted substances are very large as comparison to the quantity of the water, and due to this changes the quality of the water and it degrades the usefulness of the water. Next we shall discuss some ways to control water pollution. Sewage should be treated fully before we release it into water bodies. Chemicals released from factories should be treated to neutralize their toxic content. Toxic content means poisonous content. Heavier floating solids can be removed by gravity settlement and screening. Organic matter, that is matter from the living beings, should be removed by oxidation or precipitation. Pathogens can be destroyed by UV radiations, that is ultraviolet radiations. Now students, note down the homework. Solve and write exercise 9A, 9B and 9C in your notebook. Thank you.